Dolavinana, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to acknowledge, of course, the chair of FDB, the board, the CEO, and all the invited guests. In a digital space, you don't need to talk much. When you have two wise men speaking before, you don't need to say much at all, too. Essentially, I would like to, first of all, start by saying that, and as the chair has acknowledged, that FDB has moved at an exponential rate in terms of improving its customer service. I think, to be frank, a few years ago, until recent times, in fact, FDB was seen as a very bureaucratic organization. It was not very much in tune with what is happening outside FDB. It was not actually in the digital space at all. And within a very short period of time, FDB has now become very much part and parcel of the digital growth that is taking place, not just globally, but also within Fiji itself. So I'd like to congratulate the board and the CEO for this enormous achievement. The other point, of course, that's critically important is to understand the role that FDB plays at a macro level. FDB, as the chair has highlighted, is the only development bank in Fiji. It is the only development bank that does get, on a continued basis, government guarantees, which is critically important for them to be able to go out to the markets, to be able to raise funds, and then to be able to on-lend those markets because they don't collect deposits. And secondly, FDB is the only organization or bank that has a statutory mandate in respect of contributing to the development of various sectors within the economy. One of the key areas, of course, is agriculture. And there are other areas. And indeed, if you look at the history of FDB, there has been some successful stories where certain nascent businesses that grew and today are commercially very viable businesses, in fact, only grew because of the fact that FDB provided that assistance to them in the early stages. So whilst agriculture is the core, and whilst there are other sectors that have been within the mandate itself, any country as it develops over a period of time, and now in the 21st century, there'll be new sectors that need to be also assisted. And one of those areas, of course, is in the space, in the digital space itself. We've seen FDB, for example, participating in the renewable energy space. FDB is currently accredited to the Green Climate Fund. They have up to the tune of $10 million that they can be leveraged off Green Climate Fund. There's an agro-photovoltaic project taking place in Ovalau, in Lautoka, in Bureta, where there will be, solar panels supplying to the grid, but at the same time there'll be agriculture taking place underneath the solar panels itself. What it does also, it provides a very unique opportunity, and I think it's the first time it's actually happened, at least in that space, where you have a blended finance approach, where you have FDB is actually contributing funds, you have a grant element from the Koreans, and then of course you have some private sector funding coming into that space too. So this is a win-win situation, and that type of assistance that FDB provides, which normally other commercial banks won't. So FDB plays a very critical role. And I think it is critically important also to be able to expand the customer base of FDB. We have seen, in the past where that lack of strategic thinking, inability to be one step ahead of what is actually happening in the market has meant that many organizations, including FDB, fell behind. And we have a lot of confidence in the decision that the board have made. We have a lot of confidence in the CEO, the numerous changes brought about. I think one of the aspects that he did mention, and many times I think in many of the statutory organizations, and previously in government, the inability of the employer to be able to be responsive to the needs of their staff, I think is something that's changed quite significantly now in FDB. I mean, nobody thought in FDB there'll be rooms for people for nursing purposes, or having a salubrious environment where staff can come and sit down and relax, be able to then feel good in their workplace environment, and then be able to contribute a lot better. So these are some of the achievements, of course, FDB has made. Overall, I think it would be amiss of me not to mention what is happening economically. As you know, that we're one of the very few countries in the world, at least the only country actually in the developing world, at least, where we had such a high rate of vaccination, which has allowed us to open up the borders. A country that has been very heavily dependent on the tourism sector. It contributes about 40% towards our GDP. Fiji Airways, the tour, the hotel, the properties, etc., and many people who live off the hotel industry and the tourism sector are now getting back to their jobs. We have been through a particular phase where government revenues actually was halved overnight because of the closure of borders. Many jobs were lost. We took a very strategic decision in terms of ensuring that we had a social safety net that was expended. We expended about $500 million in both direct unemployment benefits and also indirectly, whether it's paying market fees for the market vendors, etc. All of that actually has contributed towards the economy being on very solid footing. There's a lot of liquidity in the market. Our foreign reserves are actually at very acceptable levels. In fact, according to IMF standards, World Bank standards, we have 8 months worth of exports of foreign exchange. So we're in a very good space. And therefore, with the economy growing and the economy opening up, with liquidity being available, a lot more competition in the market for people wanting to lend, it's a good time for businesses to actually invest. It's a good time to be able to take that advantage, because there's no point actually trying to react to the market that's already gone 10 steps ahead of you. It's better to place yourself before that and reposition yourself. And I think FDB in that space can also play a very critical role. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, congratulations to FDB, the management and the board. We look forward to more FDB premises being rejuvenated and being made a lot more accessible. I think what is really exciting from a government perspective is the digital space being developed. And I think it makes people's lives a lot more easier, a lot more comfortable, a lot more accessible. It also, of course, creates a lot better, a lot more transparency, because people are able to, know and track what is happening with their transactions. There's a lot less opportunity for pilfering and various other sort of, funny business going on in terms of people's applications. They know who's made the decision, and I think it's critically important for customers to know when decisions are made, why they are made. If they're rejected, why they're being rejected. If they've been accepted, why they're being accepted. Because that level of transparency then creates a lot more confidence, not just in your customer base, but the overall sort of business and in a work environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a very good afternoon. Manaka, thank you. Go ahead.
Yep, we can take it.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.